So, with all due and immortal thanks, I'm very appreciative that we have all made it, and we have the opportunity to diving into this beloved hobby, as dark as our subject matter will be. Because not only is this the Dark of Bethany, this is our second episode. This is when the ramifications, as explained, mentioned, thought up, or run across from our previous season and previous episode come home to roost. When we last left these characters of our hearts, when we last left these heroes in the making, no matter where they are on the heroic villainous spectrum, they just found or just received a quick history and rumor-filled understanding as to what the world they now inhabit actually is. There was a wild, wholly disastrous display of magic that cannot be described as anything else than that. It is the impossible, mysterious moving of things from one place to the other. They have come to the attention of their betters, and far, far worse for them, they've also come to the attention of their worse. Alone in the dark, with the lights finally back on, with the world screaming back into focus, the decision as to what to do and how to do it is still there hanging over their heads. They've reached out using the sending stone. They've run across intelligence that was being broadcast out into the ether. Jerry doesn't know whether anyone's actually listening to his shows. He doesn't know how he keeps receiving the money that he receives. He, knowledgeable though he is, and intrepid though he is, there are many, many mysteries surrounding how he is able to do what it is he is able to do. The Hutchinsons, much like the leopard, are acting on the spots that they have. They are towing the line of outright, pure, violent criminality in a way that would, at best, if caught in the act, give them nothing more than a slap on the wrist. Because as any lawyer, any intelligent person worth their salt understands, the only thing less credible than an eyewitness statement is the veracity of truth in politics. So without much further adoing until we don't, this is officially, without a shadow of a doubt, The Dark of Bethany, Season 2, Episode 2, of Aid from Them. So alone in the dark, and the rough equivalent of in the middle of nowhere, the lights from the carnival mirroring and dimming the lights from the stars above head, the clouds moving between, causing the sky to be its own version of a deep, endless sea. The sounds in the night causing each kindred to realize how small they actually are. The voices in their head and the whispers running across their hearts. The lights are on, messages are sent, calls were made out into the void. The question is, have they stared long enough into it for it to stare back? What is it that they will do, knowing that somewhere out there in the dark are things, or at least a thing?
Well, what I last remember was putting away the totally not communicator into my pocket, because fuck looking at that thing. That said too much in the way of things I agree with, but the outcome would be something I don't agree with.
How do you know? We tried.
Curiosity killed the cat, and I am far more curious than said cat.
But satisfaction brought it back.
I'm already dead. Nothing can bring me back.
Well, they can if you're only staked. Or drained.
That's true.
I don't do that, but I believe the Hekata might be able to help.
Yeah, definitely. As far as Ryan's goals are, he was sent here on a job from the wonderful Coleman Asher. So I'm pretty sure we can all confirm that the job was done. So he's gonna follow what line of communication he has for Coleman, whether that be like directly calling some aide or some ghoul that Coleman is connected to, or begin trying to make his way into town to speak to like a dead drop individual. And just kind of looks over to the group. Hey, I think it's high time that we, communicate what's happened here to the main body. Okay.
All right. So you don't need me then?
I mean, it'd be helpful. You're a part of this. He kind of gestures towards the carnival. Whatever
literally
happened
got
here
dragged
definitely
into it.
affected. It literally got dragged into whatever happened here happened to you.
Not any more than it happened to everyone else.
I don't
Now,
see
not
everyone
all
else
of us
here.
got drugged through a mirror from far away.
Yeah, I don't see everybody else here.
I'll go with you.
All right. Wonderful. He kind of looks around. Are the Hutchinsons still, like, getting their monster mash on in the carnival?
Literally looting. You're close enough to hear the screams, and from where you're standing southeast of the cemetery grounds where the carnival set up, there's a slight rolling rise, providing you a small bit of height. Not a mountain, not a hill, but just there's a difference in elevation, allowing you to look down on that space. Look down on all of that bright light and chaos in the offing. You can see vehicles peeling out as quickly as they are possibly able to get away from what's happening, which means people are literally running across the street in the dark. Strickland Springs Road is, while one of the busier roads, still a country road, which means there aren't any lighting every 100 or so feet. There isn't any huge bits of illumination making it safe for fast-moving vehicles and slow-moving people. It is literally growing into the very real potential of being a death strip. Not a drag strip, but a death strip. People are seeking to escape the violence in the offing, the sounds of animals being leashed into the night, the horrible cacophonous kicking over, breaking through things, and otherwise causing nothing but chaos as they swarm and they raid what they have previously been hired to protect. Which, unfortunately, luckily for you all, none of you all are lawyers, because they are honoring the letter of the agreement to keep any outsiders from causing trouble. They're not outsiders, they're locals.
It's kind of beautiful if you think about it.
As far as I'm aware, we have no prerogative to try and settle that down. There's nothing in our directions that says that is our business.
Great. Maddie will look over at her cousins like, oh, that was a nice swing.
North of where you all are.
Is just wondering how Ryan ended on his feet, because last time she remembers, she had knocked him to the ground. She's wondering how he got
What?
Sorry, you're breaking up.
Lydia's just wondering how Ryan got up because she had knocked him to the ground. So she's like on the ground still looking up at him like, how the hell did he manage that?
That's the worst thing for India. Being a pragmatic child of the area. Being a pragmatic person. There is a very unsettling understanding that time had passed her by. There's an unsettling understanding that in the blink of an eye for her, several larger swaths of time had happened for others. She didn't simply drop off the face of the earth. She didn't pass out and go to sleep, because kindred don't dream, nor do they pass out. Yet here you are, and you tackled him. The dirt is still on his knee and on his back and on his elbow, but he's standing and you aren't. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus animalism for me, please?
Oh God. I don't ever like it when animalism is brought into play.
Oh, come on.
It always gives me like a very kind of like primal something bad's gonna happen. Which is I think it's just like my experience is as evergreen.
My experience as Sherry is all like, oh, animalism great, it makes bad things stop happening.
You obviously don't like that ability that pisses off every animal in a nearby vicinity.
Nah, not yet.
Success is its own burden. And as the questioning of the lost time, the questioning of what is and has been taking place in their vicinity, in their cipher, and to them comes barreling up out of the dark. One of the many abilities of being a outlander, being a wolf, being a member of India's clan is the wariness and understanding of the laws of the jungle, being able to sense it on a cellular level at times. Sometimes it feels as if there's various magnitudes of heat. Other times it feels as if there are various magnitudes of cold. Sometimes it's just the feeling of a million spiders tap dancing on your skin. This is one of those that combines all of those. A cold so frigid that it begins to burn at the edges of your awareness. The feeling of a million small legs crawling over you in various intensities, stomping and marching off to war. Close enough that you are sure, just outside of your ability to touch, just outside of your ability to leap atop, there's something stalking you, as if there's a group setting up an ambush, laying in the tall grass, waiting till you're not staring or looking in their direction. Then you hear it. Andy, run.
He looks up at the others, her eyes having bled to a gold, very much big cat. Her body's just like trembling, and she stands, run, and takes the fuck off. Doesn't say why to run, just run, and takes the fuck off.
There's this like deer in headlights moment of what? Before she zips off, and Ryan just instinctually that just right on after her.
Not Ryan.
What was it, Annabelle?
Not Ryan.
Oh my God, Joji! Fuck! I did the reverse. Oh! All right, give me a second. I changed my Discord name, and it got me. Give me a second there. There we go. Fuck, I cannot believe I did it. We were just chuckling about nobody doing it last session.
Oh, okay, sorry. So you take off.
Mm-hmm. I take off. Joji takes off.
Maddie is gonna lean, putting all of her weight on one leg, throwing her hip out a little bit, crosses her arms, tilts her head. Huh. Don't see that every day.
So, okay. I'm not gonna stay here. And Annabelle doesn't, like, run. But she definitely leaves. In this... and the others.
Choice. Lita, choice is as close to godhood as any existing being can ever become. At least that's what some philosophers think. That's what some people think. The opportunity of choice, as illusory as it is in many circumstances, in many situations, is as close to the divine as any being stuck here in this savage garden might ever come. So as you stare into the darkness around you, the warmth of the summer night gently massaging your skin, the feel of the wind playing lightly in your hair, the understanding that you are in fact in the real world. There's gravity. There's the sky above and there's hell below. Unable to pierce this darkness, unable to illuminate even so much as your own steps, what, if anything, is your choice?
That's a good question. I think I'll take off into the night, trying to find my way out of the darkness.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your composure plus either your occult knowledge or if you have blood sorcery?
Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. Sorry.
We're just waiting for Lita to get that roll, that lovely bean footage out there for us to see. Well now, look at that.
Ooh. You
Knowledge is painted
You
as
have-
illumination.
Oh, please. No, please.
Knowledge is painted as illumination. It is painted as lighting the way forward. It is oftentimes in certain beliefs the gift that either Pandora or Atlas gave humans. The knowledge, the light of knowledge, the fire of curiosity. In Lita's case, it is not only illumination, it is a roadmap for all of existence. All of the many myths, religious and otherwise, that conflate and confound one another, yet still highlight the mysteries of the world beyond this one. As someone who's never been physically gifted, as someone who's never been an athlete, running is easy. You don't go too far, you don't go too fast, you just move your feet and get where you need to go. It's not like you're competing for a best time in a 50-yard dash or a 300-meter. You're not doing any of those events. You don't need to be the fastest in the world. You don't need to be the fastest in your grade. You don't need to be the fastest, because you'll get there when you get there, and running has never been difficult. But it's also never been this easy. You're gliding over several score of yards with each stride. You are the very definition of speed and lightness, almost as if, and then it tumbles down up across your shoulders. There's no way in this world, the next, or any of those that abut this one, that you are actually free in the real world. There is no way that you are as unencumbered as you feel. There's no way that you're covering as much ground as you feel. And then you hit a wall. A brightly shimmering wall that shows you all of the heavens above. The sky is filled with stars. The clouds are gently sliding across. And you realize that you are not wherever those clouds are. You are not beneath that sky of stars. And this wall, rippling and shimmering before you, invisibly so, may be your only path out of here. Unless you beseech, unless you offer, unless you find a way to beguile whomever, whatever entity resides herein.
Do I see any trace of anything?
Somewhere near your feet, as you stand in front of this shimmering, invisible wall, keeping you from accessing all of that beautiful night sky, you can see a brief bit of electronically lit light pollution. It's just there. You can't see any real details of what's causing the illumination, but whatever is there, it is not the light of heaven. It is not the celestial bodies reflecting the light of the sun back. It is something else. It is clearly non-natural in its illumination.
That is a predatory noise. That is scary. What is that?
Darkness.
It's coming from...
It is darkness. And speaking of darkness, as you all take off, would each of you be so kind as to roll your dexterity or stamina plus athletics?
Ooh, here's the question. Fleetness specifies that I can add it to non-combat dex checks.
Yeah.
Does this... Okay, cool. Alright, bueno. Let me just double check what my values
Let's
are.
try and clothesline someone along the way.
Yes. My main theory, my main like hang up was gonna be nobody going, oh no, this is combat.
Oh, I'd never tell you. Because the character doesn't know that it's combat, which means technically it still falls within line. So if it was combat and someone potentially, or more accurately, one of the nefarious spirits unleashed by you all shattering the mirror seeking to set upon you, it would not be combat because you're simply responding to India taking off and running.
I don't like that explanation, I'm not gonna lie. Ooh.
That didn't go well for Annabelle.
Ooh. And if I'm not mistaken, we do not re-up our willpower between sessions?
You do not.
Yay.
Lovely. Maddie, standing still, unfortunately, does not provide you the opportunity of dodging by fleetness.
Wait, am I hungry green?
It does mean that you are, in fact, flat-footed, as India, Joji, and Annabelle proceed to move away from the epicenter of the incoming horrors. The very real animosity to your false sense of living, which is what's being acted on. Jerry was not lying. There is a world of things out there that could not and would not break past or through a circle of protection, even if it's a circle of protection made of just simple cold iron, backed by belief, backed by some level of understanding as to how the myriad of forces interrelate. It does mean, in this particular case,
I need to set up one of these.
The roller thing?
The character sheet on here.
it does mean, as you stand watching them take off into the night, would you be so kind as to roll your... Do you have Dominate? That would be of assistance.
I do not have Dominate.
Okay. You're so kind as to roll your Resolve plus Composure as high as you possibly can. For as long as you've been in Bethany, there are always rumors, whispers, gossip popping up every couple of weeks, every few months. Those damn kids out there on that expressway gonna get somebody killed. You can't see them at night. They're always wearing those dark hippity hop clothes. And lo and behold, the local police, the sheriff, would go investigate. They'd go look. They'd go with all of their bright lights and make sure that there's no one out there partying or drinking or running across the road, as they have heard hundreds of thousands of times. There are cases upon cases of people seeing these kids jutting out across the road, some of them even asking for money, some of them asking to be let in, taken to the hospital or what have you. You've never put faith in those wives' tales. You've never put belief that it was anything more than a usual bit of malarkey. You've been traveling the back roads at all hours of the evening and have never run across a group of children, a group of high schoolers or grade schoolers out on the roads. India takes off. Joji follows. Annabelle saunters behind them, and you're wondering, what the fuck are they doing? And then you feel the tug, small little tug on your literal shirt sleeves. Ma'am, the face still shrouded in nothing but shadow. They're standing nearly to your sternum in terms of the top of their head. It's hard to discern with all of the hippity hop clothes they're wearing, those hoodies. Why would you be wearing a hoodie on a night like tonight that casts your face in shadow? Doesn't make any sense. But it's the ma'am that begins to start things bubbling and percolating at the back of your mind. The ma'am isn't said in a Texarkana accent. It's not even said in a lightly French accent. The accent, if you were to put it anywhere, you'd say Birmingham, England. If you were to put the accent anywhere, you say that that's a childish knockoff version of Jason Statham. You know what I mean? But coming from a body, a person, a being that stands barely to the height of your sternum, in the middle of nowhere, able to appear without having created any sound, getting there, next to you, pulling on your shirt sleeve, a little stronger than they should. There's no way a child that height should be able to move you, let alone pull your nut that your arm starts to jerk in this direction. And there's something percolating at the back of your head, some caveman sense of, I'm in danger. Then the second one is there at your left. And the third one is menacingly standing just behind you. And the fourth one, stepping closer, stepping into the light of your awareness. And then the fifth one, moving slowly forward like the lion that's closing in on the prey that the lionesses have downed. You slowly begin to understand what a lone hyena might feel in a moment such as this. The slow stalking around the edge of your attention. And then you feel their presence. Not just the tugging on the sleeves and the blocking off your paths of escape, but you feel that presence reaching into your space. Feeling his fingers at the edge of your mind, closing off paths of thought. What is Maddie's stamina?
Is 3, and I do have resilience.
Oh, you're going to absolutely need that. Because that 3, that leaves 1 superficial damage towards your willpower as you feel them literally beginning to sap away portions of yourself. These children, these beings. Because part of you doesn't want to accept that these are actually children. There's no way that children could be that mentally, supernaturally empowered enough to do what you feel they're doing. They're just pulling on your sleeve. Could you help us get to the hospital? My friend, they're right over here. But then there's more of them. Why did it say friend when there's 5? No, fuck, there's 6. And then there's 7. They're literally crawling out of the woodwork. The darkness just at the edge of your vision is beginning to slowly multiply, child upon child, and these children that you're immediately connecting with those rumors begin closing in on you. Wait, do they have sharp teeth? Was that no, that's just the overly grown canine kids have problems. Maybe they need braces. Then there's another. And another.
Well, damn.
The impossibility of it is weighing and pressing on you, freezing you with fear as you are catatonically watch as this happens, unable to respond. Choice. It's as close to the divine for many people. Many philosophers, many ideologues believing that choice is more than an illusion. Annabelle, the closest to the darkness, because that's what it amounts to. You're moving after Joji in India. You have an inclination, a sixth sense, and you're trying to catch up to them, and unfortunately for you, the night is dark and long, and something trips you. Something that wasn't there in your view a second ago. You know that in life you needed glasses. There's no such need. It's more affectation. You can see perfectly, or so you thought, because that branch wasn't there a second ago. And as you tumble into the dirt, glancing around, making sure that no one has a camera out. This isn't some stupid prank. This isn't something. Yet you know in your cold, unbeating heart that it is in fact something. Glancing back over your shoulder, you watch as the darkness begins to swaddle and dim the light where Maddie was standing. The space between you and her isn't, it isn't 100 feet, maybe 75, maybe 60, but it's not 100 feet, so it's clear to you, and you watch as it dims. The space where she was growing in shadow as more and more seems to be magnifying and multiplying on itself. And as you glance forward, trying to again plot your path behind India and Joji, there's a toddler, about 2.5 feet tall, as you are there in the dirt, reaching out to you. Let me help you up.
Oh God, no!
Did you get lost? Can you help us?
No, sorry, no, I can't, no.
I don't need your help, child. I'm fine.
Are you?
Just go.
Of course. And forcefully, much like a drunkard in the middle of a bar, having struck out for hours on end, desperate and unwilling to accept no for an answer, he takes your forearm and begins helping you to your feet, his left resting against your elbow, close enough to feel him. There's no way that someone that small is that strong. Yet he's lifting you to your feet.
What are you?
Lost. Like you. Isn't she? And as he says, isn't she? There's another who's there on your left.
I've been lost before, and this isn't it. Get away.
But we don't want to be lost. And you don't want to be lost either.
Shit,
there's a third one there.
Life is hard. Get away from me.
But we need your help. There's a fourth one there. Just to kind of go ahead and roll your wits plus insight.
Three.
There are many gates that you can walk through. And many gates that you need to pass through to find the truth underneath all of the many lies of existence. Not life. Life is part of it, but there's also the lies of death. There's also the petty intrigues of existence, the totality of it, the full spectrum from one end to the next. And to gain that truth, you must pass through the gates. And as your unbeating heart begins to pick up pace, there is an understanding as to what this might be. Annabelle's been in Bethany long enough that she is aware of the rumors and the gossips of the children playing on the expressway, the children out there in the night, and all of the investigations and all the scuttlebutts, and it's always turned out to be nothing. Yet somewhere in the dark, she touched a portion of herself and ended up somewhere completely unrelated to where she was. Still as death, in the truest sense, a change from one thing to the next, because energy cannot be destroyed, merely changed. And as you feel the pressure slowly closing in on your mind, is there anything that you are attempting to do?
No.
All right, that being the case, do you have any dominate?
I sure don't.
Excellent. Go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure as high as you possibly can.
Three.
That's a good roll. How
But
does
to be honest, she's not really trying to resist.
resistance is futile? Isn't that what the Borg say? Something like that?
It is. It's also what Messiah said once.
And 4 minus 3, that is a 1. There's pain, and then there's excoriating of the soul. And that's what this feels like. A portion of yourself being sapped away, being absorbed into the vacuum of the otherness. And what is Annabelle's stamina?
2.
Oh. It is, unfortunately for her, the rough equivalent of giving birth to twins through the essence of her soul all at once.
Ah, fuck.
Speaking of
There's a lot of screaming. A lot of screaming.
Speaking of fuck, you don't like being called indie. You never did. Partially because you thought that your brother was making fun of you by calling you indie. Just like that stupid movie him and your dad would watch time and time again, over and over and over, even to the point where during high school, you and he physically fought over him calling you indie until he explained why. Yes, it was in reference to the movie, but only because he saw you as a hero. Only because he saw you as someone who would boldly go into places that they shouldn't and come away with some victory. Only because he saw you very much as intrepid, very much the brave one. While everyone loved the fact that he could score on the football field and that he could out wrestle most of the boys his weight and how he was always part of the popular crowd. In explaining why he called you Indy, it wasn't bravery that kept him going. It was the fear of failure. And hearing it now, you don't like it any more, but there was only him that ever called you that. And while you didn't give him a pass to continue, it was still very much a term of endearment from him to you. And hearing his voice, and again, for the umpteenth time this night, is like an electric prod in the most sensitive of places, because it's impossible. You don't answer what's out there in the dark. Your grandma always told you that. Yeah, it wasn't calling you. It was warning you, protecting you. So as you run, do you alter your course? Do you try to zig and zag? Do you try to leap over imaginary objects? Or do you just haul ass?
Other thing her brother tended taught her, one of the first times he had come home for basic, just to visit, was that they had taught him keep it simple, stupid. So, since he was the one that warned her, she's going to keep it simple. Haul ass. There's no extra shit and jumping over things that don't see. She's going to trust that she'll keep on her feet.
Putting as much earth beneath you as possible. Putting as much distance behind you as possible. It comes upon you fairly quickly. The moisture, the water, the feeling of muck and mire beneath your feet, causing you to slow, not because of any less impetus to keep moving, but it's literally almost, it feels almost possible to add much more speed when the very earth itself, the mud and muck and mire of this waterway, because now you have an idea as to where you might be. You're southeast of Strickland Cemetery. You've clearly passed the small creek there at the county road to in your mental map of where you are. You're at the short, small lake space. You say it's a lake, but the truth of the matter is it would barely fit, two houses side by side. It's not a huge anything, but the ground gives away in the dark to all of that shimmery, reflective water. The mud eating up your steps, causing it to go from lickety split to splosh, trudge. You're moving southeast of Strickland. You know approximately where you are. About 100 yards south of where you are is a fairly major thoroughfare, Strickland Springs Road, that dead ends there at those two out of the way patches of dirt that people have been farming and mining for years. People initially thought the area might have had a hidden gas field underneath, but that turned out to be a lie. It turned out to be part of the sales package of getting folks to move into the area all those many years, almost centuries ago. But as you're there in the water of that little small unnamed lake that many of the local kids have drunk around or had bonfires around or barbecued around and gotten run off, you know where you are. And all of that shimmery, rippling otherness that is the lake. You can't be sure, but you can. You know that it should be reflecting all the starlight above your head. It should be brighter. Even with the clouds moving and dispersing itself every few moments, you should literally be able to see the full expanse of the lake before you. But instead, there's a small bit of shimmer here and there, and then there, and it's blinking out of existence, one behind the next, and then another shimmer over there. And there's a small bit of light over there. Doesn't actually accurately make sense. There's something wrong with it. Nope, technical difficulties.
Uh-oh. No, I believe that they said that they were gonna dip out and pop back in to try and fix their stuff.
Yep.
Oh, I missed things.
It's okay. I barely spotted it the moment that I heard you say that.
Alright, well, that being the case, there's an aesthetic beauty to fear. It's a seasoning that Joji, despite himself, has drunken of often enough to know it by scent alone. There's a palpable change that happens when the blood is moistened and steeped in it. Not for the first time, but for the first time in a very long time, Joji feels the essence of it about himself. As India takes off and he instinctually follows, it's only as he realizes that it's only he and India who are moving that he glances over his shoulder and he sees darkness growing. Small, dark shapes moving across the land behind him. You can barely make out Annabelle just there, far enough away that your voice would carry easily, close enough that it's far too close, and just behind her, even further, just right at the edge there, that little small speck of not quite bright red hair that is Maddie being swarmed. You've seen anthills off and on the entirety of your life. It is exactly what happens when a predatory insect finds an anthill. They all swarm and crawl over and bite and sting and tear and pull, and that's what you see there at the very edge of your vision. And as you focus back in on Annabelle, which is the rough halfway distance between you and Maddie, you hear her scream as if someone is tearing her apart piece by piece.
Fun. Okay. Glancing over and seeing this, he's just gonna shout to India, who I suppose we can re-engage with when she gets back. Just
Then you hear
we can't leave them.
Then you hear a splash, and India's not moving as fast, as far away as she had been.
Uh-oh. I look back. What was the splash about?
You're looking towards India, and she's there in a field of stars that blink and disappear and then reappear in front of her. But she's not moving forward. You don't hear the splash of her moving anymore. You see hear and heard a splash, and then she's there almost catatonic in... Is that water? Are you close enough to one of the small lakes or one of the small creeks? And if you are, why isn't it reflecting the stars overhead? Why isn't it magnifying the light as it had done for years upon years of your existence? One of the many things you have had the opportunity of doing is watching bodies of water at motion at night, the waves coming in and reflecting and refracting the light from the moon and the stars overhead, watching how the water responded to the draw and pull of all of those celestial bodies. You could, if you were able to, and you had the implements right now, paint, sketch, carve what water looks like at night. You've seen it often enough. It's a very helpful meditative tool. Bodies of water, whether it's a river, whether it's a creek, whether it's a lake or pond. And yet, if you're being honest with yourself, if you're giving the fear time to become logical, there's something wrong.
Okay. Joji's closer to her than the other two, and he can't go and save both of them at the same time. So he's just going to, muster up that I don't want to do this, but I can't leave them here kind of mentality as he just and runs in and tries to drag her out of whatever the fuck is forming around her. How deep into this pseudo pond is she?
About up to her knees or just over her knees.
Okay, then he's gonna try and do his best not to get fucking dunked into the depths as he grabs by the upper arm and other hand on the shoulder and just starts trying to pull her out of it.
Does Joji have any heightened senses?
Yeah.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus awareness plus your auspics?
What is the awareness? 7. Oh, that's an angry crit.
Oh, my dear boy. There is an often touted out aphorism, a chestnut. Stare not into the void, lest the void stare back through you. And that's exactly what happens in this moment. You grab India with all of your strength, careful to not bruise the fruit, careful not to cause any due harm, and yet the beast reaches out through you and causes you to clench on her upper bicep as you begin to pull her back, staring out into all of that trackless waste that should be this lake. And you see Lita standing there, floating there, just the other side of the lake's surface.
Are we talking about like on the other, like legitimately on the other side of the lake, or like a reflected in the water?
In the water, but there's no sign that she's actually wet. There's nothing about her that moves and undulates with the water around her. She is there in that water and not at the exact same time.
Great. As he's just fucking viciously pulling at India, trying to get her out, and he looks out and sees, he's like, Lita? What the hell? Are you okay?
Pretty weird.
He's just struggling to maintain composure as he's just, Oh, welcome back, Annabelle.
You've been here before. Joji, you've been here before. The memory of being here before is bombarding your decisions, is bombarding your awareness about the world around you. There is the very accurate, hateful feeling of deja vu. India, as Joji begins pulling you back up out of the water, through the muck, looking there in that emptiness that should be this reflective surface of all of the light above you, all of the stars, and the light in your own eyes is empty and dark, and few spots of light here and there. There is Lita. And Joji is pulling you away from this body of water, away from this moment, and you've heard Annabelle there behind you screaming in pain. And what is it that's going on with you, Joji, and Lita in this moment, as Lita is attempting to communicate with you clearly?
Joji just shouting over the body of water. Lita, get out of the water if you can.
What exactly do I see right now? I'm still at like the barrier, right?
Yes, on the other side of that, there's Joji, there's India. You can kind of almost hear them. It's a little muffled, but, you know, they're floating there. And
And what were you going to say, India?
There used to be an old rope swing tied to one of these trees. So India is going to start looking for the rope. She's also going to yell towards Lita, "You have to want to get out." I think that's how it works. You have to want it. It'll move you toward the surface and maybe it can try to get you out.
Okay. I can do willpower.
You can certainly hope. This is why I regret not taking any points of occult.
there's one.
As Joji's just kind of looking out into the lake and seeing all this, and remembering what transpired last time. There had to be, if I remember, last time as in the last time they dealt with a fucked up reflective surface. If I'm remembering correctly, there had to be an exchange of sorts.
Of sorts. And speaking of exchange of sorts, Maddie, how was your actual embrace? What actually transpired? How did you die?
Well, there was this ceremony because she's Tremere. So, she'd been Gould beforehand. It's a whole big to-do. So, traumatic, yes, but not necessarily as traumatic as it could have been if she were just kind of like, "Oh, hi, what? I'm dead."
Yeah. The reason why I ask, and the reason why that's relevant in this moment, do you know what it's like to actually wait for your death? To know that your number is up. It ends today. It's all being flushed down the tube. This is a before and after moment. As crazy as it sounds, it'll be perfectly fine, or we hope, because it didn't always take. Sometimes the death is a little more permanent than expected. Sometimes the soul refuses to step into the warmth and dark gift. Sometimes. That feeling of waiting for death, that knowledge that it is in fact all over, begins to pervade as you realize that these children are pawing at your intimate, quiet moments of your existence, taking those moments, supping on those moments, all those horrid little mouths and row upon row of jagged little teeth, nibbling and biting on all of those moments, that understanding of what this existence was. And like children given full bags of just chocolatey, sugary confection, holding it in their mouths, holding it in their hands, getting it everywhere. You can see the sweetness of your personal, private thoughts and feelings in those moments began sticking and clinging to their fingertips as they began supping on more and more of them, holding you in place like a pack of wolves having fallen their prey, cutting off or trying to cut off your means of escape and egress as they remind you that they need to get to the hospital. They need your help. They don't want to. Are you okay?
She is going to attempt to calm herself and basically try to will away the fear.
Excellent. You know what that means. These guys go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure. Contested.
Type, that would be even better.
Nah, I use the talk to text function. The attempt is valiant. The years and months of tutelage as an apprentice and an acolyte and growing into who and what you are as a member of the Warlocks is there. That foundation is solid. And yet they're nibbling through the cracks and corners. You feel that morning you got up knowing that your father wasn't there any longer after everything shook loose. It's disturbing for you in this moment, not because you have not done the work, not because you had not safely dealt with that conflation of emotions being there on the homestead alone is endemically problematic in this moment because you are neither safe nor secure enough to tear open those wounds again, yet that's what's being done to you. The agency of choice pulled away, snatched away, stolen and taken from you by these children. Wait, no, that's not accurate. You know they're not children, but yet every time you look to your left and look to your right, at your little cherubic face munching on Christmas treats as they're And they're asking for your help. Clearly, they're children. They need your help to get wherever it is that they're going. But that's not right either. That is effectively too superficial willpower as they sup and feed and pull things out of you that you would rather wish not. Pull things out of you that you've dealt with hundreds of times before. Pull things out of you that you've squirreled away and just accepted as the way of the world. Moments that are intimately personal.
Well, now she's just gonna start getting angry.
Darkness has always been a problem for humankind. Because in the dark, their tools of stamina and their ability to run down prey means nothing. You can only fight what you see coming. You can only stand a chance against the stronger, hungrier, larger predators out there if you are able to lay in wait, if you are able to run it down, if you have strength of numbers pointed in the right direction. In the dark, humankind, mankind is one small, soft thing. And that's what it feels like, Annabelle. What it feels like. You have strayed too far from the campfire. You are meat. It is not the most comforting of feelings, considering for the nonce, you have been an apex predator. If you set your mind to it, if you have the inclination, there is very few living things that could prey upon you successfully. Yet these children are pulling moments. They're taking from you against your will, against your want, against your best understanding of whom you might be. And the pain is excruciating. It is a mental anguish that is becoming physical. What is it that you are attempting it to do, if anything?
She is going to try to she's going to try and redirect them at somebody else.
Oh!
And how would you do
Somebody clearly more deserving than her.
Oh!
And who might that be?
There's probably a handy Hutchinson or 5 around.
Oh. Oh no, not Maddie, no!
I don't know, Maddie.
I mean, strictly speaking, that's a few generations back.
Your red hair says it all.
So you're attempting to plead with them, to barter with them, to offer your skills at finding better, more vibrant sustenance?
Yes.
Alright, we will use that as your defense pool. Instead of your resolve plus composure, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your manipulation and subterfuge? As they constantly ask for help and nibble on parts of your inner workings that you would much rather not address. The fact that you leaped into death versus face the pain of continuing to exist. You chose death over the pain of continued life. You willingly went into the dark.
Messy critical. 5.
Long as they don't score a 3 or higher, you're perfectly fine.
I am, indeed.
Ooh.
Ooh.
There is a point in every conversation where you know that it is not in fact worth continuing to converse. Pride usually has most people push beyond that point. When it is clear that the differences in aim and goal cannot be bridged, it's typically the point to call the conversation over and done with, but pride gets in the way. I've got to win. I've got to. And it causes nothing but pain for those involved. You end up hurting yourself to prove yourself valid or right, or get the other person to admit defeat. The old saying, the old aphorism, pride goes before a fall, is proven true time and time again. Because there's a point when the conversation should end. There's a point when agreeing that there's a difference so wide that neither of you are willing to make that bridge happen, to meet in the middle. There is no middle ground, either my way or no. And yet, the only thing that comes from that are hurt feelings. The only thing that comes from that are animosity and enmity. And you know that's where you are. The pride battle between it's a lost cause. A despondency sets in as the moment of you realizing what you needed from your parents was not something that they could give. Not that they were unwilling, they didn't know how. They didn't have the necessary components. They didn't hold the wariness of what their actions might wreak upon you. Their failings were programmed into them by their nurturing environment, by their nature being bent and twisted through their experiences. Their existences slowly, as much as they tried to help the world around them, as much as they claimed to be helping the world around them, you were not part of that world. And that's what Annabelle is beginning to feel as the pain rockets and lances through them, as the damn thing on her left bites into that core memory of sitting at the dining room table by herself. Succulent and delicious. It licks its lips.
I told you there's better prey. I'm not worth it.
But
No, I'm not.
But aren't you? No one would miss you. No one's coming for you. No one ever has. as Annabelle faces that, as Annabelle chomps into that core memory, and the children needing her assistance, needing her help, can only be assuaged by her help, can only be helped by her hand. Looking into all of that endless waste that is this lake, that is not properly reflecting the light from the stars above, and seeing Lita there. India, the rope swing is a great idea. You've been here before. You know what this moment is and isn't. You were outside of the trailer when all of that went down, and as you get to the rope swing, you can swear that there's someone sitting on it. Small little cherubic dark child, hoodie pulled up high and tight, causing his face to be cast in shadow.
Thing about these family is with them being culture that they are. Thought a lot.
Hey, India.
Yeah.
I think you may want to check your connection.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
breaking up again.
The trials and tribulations of the internet.
Right?
Such a fickle goddess she is.
Discord is doing what Discord does tonight.
Alright. Try again when you're ready.
Yeah, it is in fact struggling. So, as India wrestles through her moment, both tech-wise and in presence of that child sitting there on the swing, Joji, Lita's right there. Lita is right there. You left her back at the carnival. Not just you, but you left her back at the carnival. Not sure when she disappeared from your presence, but you know for a fact she was behind you in all of that mess and chaos that the Hudgeses are wreaking on the carnival.
Alright. Well, like, how far does she seem out?
Perfectly honest, if you would just reach down, you could grab her leg and pull her through. Maybe. Help her up out of the water. But you're not.
What's up?
But you're not that guy. You're not the guy that laid down on the wire and let others crawl over your back. You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. The smart thing to do is to not make the sacrifice play. The smart thing to do would be to trade Annabelle or Maddie or anyone if you were going to try to save Lita. 'Cause that's clearly what happened, right? You pulled Maddie free and Lita got stuck? You just didn't realize it? Was that it? Or was it something else?
Ah, yes. The darkness of my mind come to haunt me for past transgression.
But is it a transgression to consider your happiness? Not that you've ever been happy. You've always been just left of center, just right of the correct way. You've always been right there on the edge. Has even your family come looking for you in all these years? Has even your sire? Hell, You came this way to pull India up out of this mess, and she leaves you here in it. You're not the hero. Not in anybody's story, not even your own. Be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus insight. DC 3. As the water is now just above your knee. Not that you remember moving.
Okay. Now, this, feel free to turn me down on this, but does heightened senses count towards this wits check?
It does not.
Alright. Perms to rouse then, as I tempt the beast.
Okay, go ahead, add your 2, then roll your rouse afterwards.
Alright. Thank God I remembered to not do it in the reverse order. Okay, here we go. Alright, well, let's just roll, because you hate me, I guess. There we go.
The beast does not excise attacks for the strength that it grants you. But there is the very troubling sense of being lulled to sleep, being lulled into getting into the water. Being lulled into the water rising around you. Not that such a thing could or should be able to happen, yet there you are. The water's that was just below your calf is now above your knee and rising. And you can hear splashing. Clearly someone's coming to save you. And you see the little hooded child swimming towards you. Not that a child should be able to pull you up out of the water, but that's what they're doing. Wait, you just saw one. Now there's 2 swimming across the lake towards you. What did you do?
Despite all the dark murmurs in the corners of his mind slowly making their way towards his core, convincing him of this lack of heroism, of this lack of duty, that everybody will abandon him and has abandoned him, Joji, for lack of a better word, has certain ropes that he has held on to since the day his life ended that have kept him from falling. And one of those ropes is not necessarily that he will be better. Not necessarily that he will be a hero. But that he will at least try. And with that in mind, he's going to reach into the water and try and pull Lita out.
Nice.
And as you break the water surface, reaching for Lita. Lita, the truth of the matter is, and always has been, your money has gotten you nothing. Your money has been as much of a prison as anything else. And while you've distanced yourself from that same child that needed to impress the people, to win them over by buying them, there's still the understanding there that perhaps you are in fact not nearly as special as you thought. There's still the haunting, niggling thoughts there. So you have the opportunity in this moment of staying a place where you are appreciated. You have in this moment the opportunity of staying in your heaven, your happily ever after. You look over your shoulder and there is that book of mysteries, the book of Nod in its fullness. the chapters upon chapters that you could lose yourself in and understand the truth as to what you are and what you might become. There are walls and walls of books with hidden knowledge about the world and all of the worlds that abut it, there for your reading pleasure forever. Are you willing to give up your chance at a happily ever after in your version of paradise for the hand that is reaching through this invisible barrier, keeping you from all of the pain of the real world?
I think he's gonna want to try one more time this whole real world thing.
You know that sinking suspicion that you have as a child that when you get home you're going to be in trouble? That gut vibrating dis-ease that begins creeping out from the center of your being, spreading across your skin, causing little jangly nerves to have the fingers shaking as you try to both warm yourself up and cool yourself down. That is what Lita is feeling. There's a cost to everything. That's one of the few things that has been equally true across every iteration of apocryphal document that she's ever had the opportunity of reading. There's always a cost. There's always a price. And she takes Maddie's hand, and as he's attempting whatever it is he's attempting, whether it is to push her further in or pull her further out, there is the understanding for Lita that there's always a cost, there's always a price, there's always that she fight to stay. Does she fight to give up her paradise?
I think she does. I think she resists the illusion a little bit that the world can be easy.
India, have you fixed your tech issues?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yes, excellent. So there on the swing is the hooded child. You were saying?
She's had family stories about the weird things that are in the woods. So, while probably being surprised that the child is there, it's not entirely unexpected. But now she's got to remember what her grandma told her about said beings. So, she's attempting to remember that, but then at the same time, she's trying to get the rope.
So does she engage the child in conversation? Does she help the child off the swing? How is she trying to get the rope? And she hears splashing behind her.
Shit. Damn it, Josie. And, hey, little man, I need that rope.
Are you gonna help me?
Well, I have to help somebody else right now, but I can help you afterward.
And then extends both hands to you. I'm lost. Can you? I don't want to be lost anymore.
She steps back. She is not going to let that thing touch her. Baby doll, we all lost, but I need that rope.
dear, so what are you saying? And it lunges in a way that should not be possible. Its legs are up, its feet are off the ground in that swing. Instead of kicking itself back and standing in a swing or using it for momentum, the swing isn't in motion and it leaps and lunges with all due strength, covering the distance between itself and you. As it's heading towards you, is there anything that you're attempting to do?
Oh, she gonna dodge. Sidestep.
Alright, excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll versus that difficulty there?
Okay, what's the pool?
Dexterity and athletics. There's no way you should be able to have moved as quickly as you did. You were standing there and in full path of flight, its arms seeming to stretch as it grew nearer and nearer towards you, and as you move to your left, rolling out of its direct path of flight, you are sure that it will still take you into its arms. You can all but feel that ungodly warmth of whatever that is, because kids are naturally hot to begin with, but you're sure that that's not quite right. Somehow it's like a heat-seeking missile targeted and locked onto you, and as you feel it in advance, you pre-plan how to, it's gonna hit me, it's gonna fucking hit me, it's gonna fucking, god damn it, I don't know. You feel a hand on your back, a small little shove, and it goes tumbling past you. In your movement, in your circling, dodging from it, you see Joji bent over the lake, up to his elbows in that darkness, that not quite right darkness. You hear Annabelle, some spaces off, some further spaces out there in the darkness, screaming in pain, as if something is disemboweling her. You don't hear Maddie, and that's somehow worse than the screams of pain. There's silence further back there, out there beyond Annabelle. And framing it all, far quieter than it should be and far louder than you would imagine, the sounds of the carnival being raided by the Hutchinsons. The sound of vehicles screaming off into the dark, diesel engines revving up, carburetors choking and spitting out their poisonous gas into the environment. You know that that's not normal, yet somehow that's more normalized than where you are with this child attempting to wrap its arms around you. Joji up to his elbows in the dark murk of the lake. Lita on the other side of the lake, now somehow unwilling to come up for air. Not that you all need it, but it's uncomfortable having your lungs filled with water or anything else. Annabelle screaming. And it's 4 after 10. Let's take a quick 10 minutes and be back here at 14 after. 15 after to be sure. And we're live on the scene.
Hey.
So it's just you and I, hey Joji?
Yep, totally.
So allow me to act as your conscience.
No. Every time you do that, I feel bad.
Okay, fine. Instead of being your conscience, your devil on your shoulder, let me be your angel in your ear. Fear is empowering, knowing where the boundaries of your fear are. Knowing when your self-preservational instincts kick in. Lets you know where you can either push past a little bit or push past a lot. We've reached a wall. Because in the moment of bravery, in the moment of potential selflessness, Joji is reaching into the vast unknown and leaving himself open for those children who are swimming towards him rapidly. Those children who are just there attempting to bridge the gap between him and the help that they need. You could just let Lita go. You know that, right? If you let her go, you might have enough time to dodge them if they close on you. Because after all, what sort of kids swim at nearly midnight? Dressed in hoodies and jeans and big knockoff Timberland boots.
See, this is why Mama said never to go out in the woods at night.
You can always just let go.
What about those kids is the knockoff Timberlands? That is a pain that I have known.
Oversized clothes, a hoodie that's 1 or 2 seasons out of date and 2 or 3 sizes too big because you're gonna grow into them. Being a latchkey kid, having the admonishment put to you, now don't be opening my door, just go in there and do what you're supposed to do. There's food on the cupboard. Or understanding you need to be in a safe place to analyze the many scars upon your soul. And knowing you're not in a safe place and yet unable to stop.
Yeah.
You all, instead of fighting, you can just let go. It's not just for you, Joji, but think about it. If you got everybody to just let go, to stop fighting, to not go with or stand against, or just let go, just give up, give in, relent.
Man, I thought you were supposed to be the angel on my shoulder, not the executive dysfunction on my shoulder.
You act as though those are 2 separate things.
The angel on your shoulder is just ADHD symptoms.
That's why it's so tempting.
Come on, Joji, you could do it. Just get in the water.
I can. You're right. I can do it.
Just get in the water.
I know how to scare these kids away. And don't worry, there's not a single child that can stand up against good old Remington buckshot. Oh, sorry, I let my American show there for a second. Oh, I'm too old to be in school.
That's what you think. You can never stop learning. You should be learning something every day. Or in this case, in George's case, learning something every night.
Yes. I study ballistics and ballistic theory. No, I'm just about the only fucking Toreador you'll see who's not gonna touch a goddamn gun.
You say that.
Oh.
Yeah, why? Do you hate living?
What? No, it's not that. I just hate I hate seeing the Warrior stereotype perpetuated. Are you aware of the Warrior?
I'm not, but I'm gathering.
Their art form is war.
Yeah, so unfortunately, they don't have, like, the best discipline for gunslingers, which is apparently fortitude, but they do have Solarian aspects. And because they have those two, people tend to just go, "Ah, yes, I will solve all my problems with the power of Smith & Wesson."
If it works, it works.
Yeah. Although when you play like a hammer, everything becomes a nail. Although, to be fair, I think I find that a lot easier to stomach than the other stereotype of Toreadors.
The damsel in distress.
Reishu Joji?
What about Joji?
Yes, they're too Joji. That's the stereotype.
No. Joji is not. He's not going to be one of those characters.
Keep telling yourself that, buddy.
You harm me with your words.
Oh, that's my specialty. I mean, helping people with my words is my specialty. That's
You talking about being a hoe. That's what the Toreadors is. They's is hoes.
Leader, we're back.
Yeah.
Excellent. So before we stepped away, there's but one way to summarize what the Coterie was in the midst of. It was a battle of faith in themselves. If we were to be so grandiose as to give it a title. Because everything can harm you, but nothing can harm you permanently save yourself. And that's what's at stake. The definition of whom they might be and what they might become and what they've done is what this darkness is evincing. It's what this darkness is showing them. It's what is out there in the night, stalking them always. So Maddie, as the night is filled with your distant relations having their way with the world, the sounds of fear and combustion engine doing what combustion engines do. As Annabelle's scream becomes part of the cacophonous, muddled sounds of the night. What is Maddie doing?
Well, at this point, sometimes the only way out is through. So, she is going to dredge up some of her favorite moments reflected in the paradise she so artfully was like, wait, this isn't right, is experiencing, and just let her love of knowledge, even though that's like her secret thing, just kind of flow through.
Is she attempting to make her way anywhere? Is she standing in the center of this pylon? In the center of all of these gaggle of youths attempting to have their way with her? As she radiates that hidden reserve of awareness.
Yes, she is going to just slowly take one step at a time.
Alright, and she does not have any dominate.
She does not have dominate.
Okay. That being the case, you guys go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure and roll as high as you can.
Womp womp.
Okay. These things happen. There is an occurrence that occasionally factors in. Fate lends a hand. It reaches through the dark, taking you by your shoulders and providing you the strength, a purpose, to withstand the horrible evisceration that you receive. It literally is the very unkind, there, buddy, you'll be perfectly fine, and then your snock attack, you're backhanded with a nail bat. It's the being piled on by a gang of individuals who want nothing but your worst. And the Good Samaritan helping you to your feet so they can get a clear shot. That is unfortunately six unhalved willpower damage, so you're superficial, so of course you have it in that B3 that you are absorbing. You literally are watching your worst moments. Not the moments where you know that you were tough enough and you survived them, but those moments that even still in your death haunt you from your breathing days. Even in your unbeating heart causes a cold sweat to break out, a flop sweat to crawl across your lower back. Those moments that open your eyes that there is, in fact, darkness that refuses to be illuminated by anyone's brightness, by anyone's light, by anyone's fire towards knowledge. Realizing that sometimes, no matter how well-intentioned a thing, there's nothing but rack and ruin. What is Maddie's total willpower presently?
Oh, the poor girl is down to 1.
you've experienced more pain. You can't remember when. It is beginning to leave welts and lesions upon your skin. You are sure that them pulling and moving and attempting to make sure that you can't do or escape is a spiritual thing. You would be willing to bet the promise of your immortality on that fact that they cannot or have not actively physically affected you. Yet there are lesions growing, heat damage here, a bruise and a contusion there, beginning to show on your skin. You can feel what in this moment feel like just an Indian burn or a rough, small abrasion. But you know that is due to the damage that you are taking emotionally. You know that standing, sitting, reclining, remaining here is the acceptance of the end of your immortality. Speaking of the end of your immortality, pulling Lita from wherever she is, beneath the water, beneath the surface of the world, wherever she is dry and welcoming and safe, because as you pull her free of the water surface, there's not a drop of wetness on her. Unfortunately, you two stand hand in hand, arm in arm, as the children who are swimming across this body of water reach you. Lita, Joji, they are here. They are close enough to nearly touch you, to reach out to you for help, because just as you pull Lita free, just as you break the surface, Lita, they begin to sink. They begin to experience the weight of their soaked garments pulling them beneath the surface, and they're reaching out and calling, like, help! Help!
You've got this, Lita. You know the choice to make. I believe in you.
I want to unlive.
Yeah. And unlive means what for you right now? Are you going to help the children who are beginning to drown? Are you going to reach out and pull them free of the water?
Do these look like normal children to me?
Wearing oversized garments, swimming at night? Yeah, of course.
They certainly haven't been eating your soul. It's fine.
Oh, not mine, but
India seeing that would definitely yell, "They're not real, get out of the water."
Or are they?
They're more real than any of us.
Reality is perception.
hearing that, I think I'd probably ignore the children.
You're gonna ignore the children for the word of someone that left you on the other side of the mirror? I see. They left you.
Yeah.
They clearly have your best intentions in mind. They left you alone as if you were something cheap and easily obtainable, something you pick up from the dollar store or the 99-cent store, or from the one of Joji's resale bins, something cheap and disposable. Speaking of cheap and disposable, when you were going to school, Annabelle, one of the most popular backpacks was a simple Jan Sport. Your parents were too busy to purchase it for you. They picked up a bright pink thing. It was some knockoff made by Carhartt or Dickies or some work thing. And they shoved it towards you. Told you, just like all of the other kids, it'll be fine. It'll be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure why you thought of that God-forsaken thing right now, but those kids that are pulling at you and need your help, they need you to, and they're eating so much teeth-rotting candy and sweets and you're not sure where they're getting it from, because it's not like you're offering it to them. It's not like you have candy or keywords in your pockets, but lo and behold, there they are. And you try to get them, point them in the direction of anyone and everyone but yourself, but yet they want your help. They need your aid, your assistance, and it's costing you dearly. As a psychologist, you know that you can only analyze those dark, deep moments of your past traumas when you are in a safe and secure location. You are the opposite of that. The complete and total opposite. You are not safe nor secure. You're not healthy or being supported by anything and anyone that loves you. Yet there they swim up from your past, those moments, those bits that you carry with you, even in death. What is it, if anything, are you attempting to do?
She stops trying to redirect them and accepts the truth that they offer. That she has no inherent worth, but at the same time there's freedom in that. There is there's a sort of purity of that knowledge, and she can help them by helping them understand the same thing. That they are all the same, that they should all cease the struggle to find themselves, because only in being lost can you be found. And so she's encouraging them to embrace continuing to be lost like she is.
So, She is, in essence, attempting to get them to feed on themselves and to invest in giving themselves over to the depression of the trauma of their existences.
Yes.
Burn into the skid.
Okay. Instead of resolve and composure, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your manipulation plus subterfuge? Roll as high as you possibly can as you attempt to reach into the dark void of existence and have it feed upon itself.
Is it really subterfuge though, since she's not lying to herself anymore?
She's not lying to herself, she's lying to them. She's attempting to twist what she understands of their logic onto itself.
Annabelle just very nicely said KYS.
Look at that. As long as they roll 1 or less, 2 or less, you are absolutely perfect. Really.
One success versus difficulty 1.
This is literally Annabelle.
There's not an end. Not an easy one in sight. By getting them to pause allows the truth of a lot of ancient philosophy to filter through to her. Busy mind requires a calm body. Calm body requires a busy mind. And buying yourself a few seconds to establish a small distance, even as they're still touching her, and even as they're still supping, even as they're still closing off, there's a reality in understanding. Sometimes you don't have to be faster than the bear. Sometimes just standing up tall and moving away at a good pace is enough to survive the encounter. Stillness is very much that of the grave. In your pause, the truth of staying settles itself across you. Not moving, not fighting, goes very much against the ideologies for survival, Joji. And as Lita is pulled free and finally begins to experience what being in water is like, because her clothing, her hair, everything about her is completely dry, as if she was never actually in the water. But yet as she's standing, the water begins to slowly creep into the fabric of her garments, and those children are closing on you both. You hear India call out. What is it that you are attempting to do?
I'm gonna try to get back to shore, I guess.
Voices in my head were right. She just immediately abandons me. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm sorry, depression. You were right.
Depression was only looking out for you.
Exactly.
And she turned her back on the children who are beginning to go under the water. What is it that Joji is doing?
Pardon?
What is it that Joji's doing? As the children drown right in front of him.
Just kind of in a low mantra, just they're not real, they're not real, they're not real, they're not real, as he's trying to extricate himself. As he's trying to extricate himself as well. Despite how fucking depressing that mental image is.
Please don't go. Help. Help. Oh God. Oh. As you all make your way back out of the deeper portions, as you pull yourself out of that sinking moment, because that's what it was. The water was slowly rising, which should be impossible. You guys didn't go further in. There's not like there's actual waves responding to the moon. There's no tides coming in and coming out, yet it felt as if you all were sinking into the lake, making your way back through the mud, back towards the actual safe, drier portions of the shoreline. And you see India facing off with a child. A child! She's staring at it, keeping it in sight as if it is the most dangerous of things, as if it was a cornered wildcat and the only way out was through her. And it's appealing to her. Help me, I just need help. I can't be out here again. I can't be out here like this. Help me.
Yeah.
India?
Yeah.
But the appeals towards your assistance and the calls for your aid and the sounds of children drowning in the lake behind you. What is it that you're doing?
Well, seeing that they have gotten out and don't need the rope anymore, as far as she knows, she is going to skirt around him, keeping him in her eye line the whole time, and get back to Joji and Lita. But for good measure, she is snarling at that thing to keep it the fuck away from her.
So as you three close on one another, the children drowning in the lake, the child by the swing who missed and attempted to go in for a loving hug from India, standing there pitifully in the dark.
We always go to such lovely places.
India will tell them both, the main road is that way. We just gotta go. It's only 100 more feet.
Yards.
We gotta get out. Yards, 100 yards that way.
Is Maddie still being fucking suffocated by the undead?
Yep.
And Joji's just gonna... Alright, you guys go that way. I'm gonna try and get her out. As he just starts making his way over to Maddie, because that is not a pretty situation over there.
That is not. That is not. There's nothing like being besieged by all of the moments where a step would have brought you victory. You would have gotten the accolades of your peers. You would have been financially situated. The hunger of poverty wouldn't have gnawed so deeply on your flesh for one step, for one few fractions of a distance. It's those moments where you look back and say, but had I known, could I, if I'd. That's what the darkness encapsulating her looks like. It's what it feels like from a distance. But is in fact considerably more than that. It's those moments beyond your control that were never really beyond your control. Were never really outside of your agency. It's realizing that you chose what befell you. And you might have chosen different had you but known, had you but had the gift of foresight, had you but... It's those moments, the ones that if you were alive would keep you awake, denying you sleep and peace. It's those moments of having to accept the unacceptable, having to embrace the frailties and failings of being alive. And with that proclamation from Joji, as he's going to head back to race towards Maddie, what are India and Lita doing?
Just to see if it shows anything, I'll use where the binding fetter.
So you are going to attempt to create an anchor out of whole cloth from...
No. It just lets me see them. See if the fetters exist.
It is in fact a there's really no relevance for these spiritual beings. They're not the spirits of the dead. They're not things that once existed. Just quantifying it that you have at least one level of oblivion. These are not formerly living entities. These beings, these children. There's nothing that ties them to lives lived, cut short, or otherwise impeded. With you having oblivion and having an idea of the cosmology of the world and worlds in which but our own, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your intelligence plus oblivion as Joji heads off, as you begin racking your mind, and as Lita is scrutinizing the encroaching darkness of these children who need your assistance, who demand your aid, who need your touch. India, as Joji begins heading back towards Maddie, is there anything that India is doing?
India tends to feel better with her gun in her hand. She normally knows that if she's out on the range by herself, it keeps most predators away. So she is going to pull it from her waistband and take the safety off, but keep it pointed at the ground. Lita, I don't know what you up to, but the thing is, we need to keep moving. We cannot let them touch us. We cannot let them get close. We have to keep moving. I don't know what Joji's up to, but we need to get out of here one way or the other.
Sounds like a plan.
There is a similarity between many of the older faiths and many of the older myths about the power of belief. One of the many things that children are taught typically is, the myth and story of Tinkerbell and Peter Pan and various other wives' tales that are passed down, like, if you wish upon a star, happy birthday wishes, and things of that nature. The power of belief. These children, these malformed thoughts and doubts, empowered though they are in the now, are not powered by the dead, are not powered by the powers of any of the nearby necropoli on the other side of the shroud, on the other side of the veil. These are specters and spirits of things lost. And most pressingly, there needed to be a sundering or shattering. There needed to be a break for them to, especially in this vast volume, enter into this world relatively freely. There had to be an opening, a tearing, or a breaking of a boundary. There had to be something larger entering into this world, causing all of the ripples in its wake to create these passageways for this many of them. The wives' tales about them playing in the road, probably true. But there's never been enough energy for them to manifest in this volume. There is an opening. There is a tearing down of some fence. Speaking of fences and neighbors, May, the confluence of these children pulling at you, feasting on you, where kindness has not been of assistance and anger only adding fuel to the fire. Is there anything that Maddie is doing in the face of these hungry, feasting children?
Well, let's see. At this point, she is probably fairly exhausted.
Drained. Wrung out.
Right, alright. So she is going to take her last ditch effort. And I guess figuratively, since these aren't actually fire, walk through fire. Figuratively, of course.
And how would that look to you?
I would say maybe it's similar to the first time that she successfully used one of her rituals, which is bind the fear, which, you know, helps keep that nasty little fear frenzy at bay. She's done it. She's had to in her course of duties. So that's probably what she's conjuring up the first time that she was successful at that.
So underneath the onslaught, beleaguered by the onslaught, instead of taking any decisive action, Maddie is attempting to use the power of her belief in herself.
Exactly.
Okay. That being the case, would you be so kind to go ahead and roll your composure and blood sorcery? Not having time to enact one of the rituals she may have learned along the way, not having the opportunity to tap into the Bethany, and unwilling to yield to the sheer onslaught. It's a damn you while I refuse moment. It is a digging deep into the semblance of herself and withstanding the onslaught, the waves of nebulous energy being output by these things, but being absorbed from her, from all of the moments of her past.
Just to double check, you said resolve and blood sorcery?
Yes. Let's come back to that. Fate very much does not seem to enjoy Maddie's present standing.
No, it doesn't.
Annabelle, the pause, the small break in the onslaught of all the things that have come before, all of the moments where being a fraction of a fraction, too little, too late, too unloved, too unappreciated, a pause in that onslaught, a breather, if you will, in the attack of these children. Because that's what it is. It is literally an attack, a unforgiving, unrelenting wave upon wave of things that would seek to drown the very heat of the universe. Hundreds of moments of poor decision making, great decision making not working out, hundreds of decisions, hundreds of moments, hundreds of instances, a death by a million small cuts in places where no one would ever notice, no one's ever going to come and help because there's no signs that they can see. In the midst of that, in the respite of that, what is Annabelle doing?
How distracted are they?
It is, in fact, a pause. There's one thing you can count on. You can count on the surefire bet. This is just a pause. You manage to keep them preoccupied for seconds that give you a moment to breathe clear and free of all of those other moments.
She's going to just start like casually strolling away while continuing to like encourage them to attack each other. Meanwhile, she's thinking, "Come with us, Annabelle. It'll be fun," they said. "We need you," they said. And where are they? Fucking nowhere, just like everyone else.
They are, aren't they? No one's going to come for you. No one is there for you.
I haven't survived by relying on other people.
No, you haven't survived by trusting in anyone but yourself, have you?
Never.
Please, let's go ahead and roll your dexterity and stealth.
This isn't going to go great. So.
Surreptitiously easing out of the center of their fixation, surreptitiously slinking past them, working towards doing so. Is that your final roll?
No. So apparently, yes.
Fate has its way with us all, one way or the other. Just like time, it is the thief of always. And just like those persistent doubts that won't allow you to be great, they catch your movement slow and quiet and attempting to not quite catch their attention or their interest as you... Really, it's perfectly fine. Like, no, I'll see myself out. Like, no need to get up. No... They descend on you as Joji rushes past, heading towards Maddie.
Fuck you, Joji.
What did I do?
Nothing.
There is a portion of humanity that refuses to accept the pain of others, at least in most fully formed, mostly empathetic versions of humanity. The pain of others causes us sympathetic pain in ourselves, and we seek to keep ourselves from experiencing that pain by helping others. As Joji is nearly dead even with Annabelle, he watches out of the corner of his eye because his gaze is focused on Maddie, but as he's moving past at a good clip, he watches as pain is materialized in her being. The sort of persistent niggling doubts that paralyze others, that freezes them to the spot, that causes them, even as the inferno is towering above their head, crushing down on them. The fear of failure freezes them to the spot, assuring and ensuring that they will in fact fail. That they will not survive this moment. And like a person on their last gasp as the water takes them under, Joey watches as the darkness descends and crawls over Annabelle, taking deep gouts and gibbets of her flesh from her. The emotional center of her being shattered in 100,000 different small shards. With the additional one superficial willpower, Annabelle, what does that leave your total willpower presently?
There should be 3 willpower left because I don't think I marked it last time. Yeah, so 3 willpower left.
A second sooner. A moment faster. Joji would have been able to see her before the darkness completely encapsulated her and began feeding as the children clinging to her and pulling her further into their grip takes her temporarily for a moment as he whips and rushes past her, heading towards Maddie. And that's 5 superficial, Maddie. Halving that to 3, what does that leave her total willpower presently?
That would be... Oh yay, -2.
So the old axiom, I've dealt with tougher men than you. I've dealt with bigger problems than this. We all know it's a lie. Typically, we all know that when people tout such things and boast of what they've survived, that they rarely have ever actually been in such dire straits before. Maddie wouldn't lie on herself in that regards. She has not been in more dire straits. She has never received as many blows to her sense of self as she has. She has not toughed out any more significant moment than this. There's being wounded, there's being hurt, there's even being stabbed or shot that is less painful than where she is right now. Has she ever had anybody to rely on? Has she had anybody else to lend a hand?
Not so overmuch. She was raised to be self-reliant.
And Joji, would you be so kind to just go ahead and roll your dexterity plus athletics for me, please?
All right, will do.
And what's your total celerity?
2.
Okay.
Is this a reactionary or can I rouse? Because this is kind of a rough one.
You can rouse. Rousing is always a yes, but you were supposed to do that loud, but that's fine.
Ignore me. I'm bitching at myself for routinely forgetting the order.
As you rush through the shadowed grip of these children who are gathered around Maddie, as if she is the center of the universe, as if she's the bonfire to which they are warming themselves, as if she is the central the sun in which the constellation of their planets circle. And they reach out towards Joji, and he can all but hear the laughter, as he can all but hear those moments where he was not nearly as strong as he wished himself to be, as he was not nearly as beautiful as he wished himself to be, as he was just a bit less than he hoped to be. And that's a 3. That brings you to, you manage to evade their touch. You manage to evade their actually reaching out to you for help. And you're standing there with Maddie. Is there anything that you are attempting to do besides watch as she kneels under the pressure of all of her moments of failure?
I am fully maintaining my momentum, slamming into her, just picking her up bridal style and fucking running.
Nice.
There is no need to be here any longer. This is the end of the con, when it's just kind of depressing as everyone's packing up. None of the people that you want to meet are there anymore, and it's just boxes on boxes.
Yeah, but Jeff Sorbo is still there.
We don't know why, and it's slightly concerning.
As you truck, as you run, as you head back towards the carnival, for lack of a better word, because you're moving through where she's standing back in that general direction, choosing a path free of the moment. There is a choice. There is always a choice. Whether that's effective or not does not take away the fact that there is, in fact, a choice. Always made. And as you, India and Lita, are nearly to the road, nearly to Strickland Springs Road, there where it turns off into the 3 dead ends. Because if you go north of your location, north of where you are presently are heading towards the road, there's another turn off that heads south and technically west of where you are. The other 2 dead ends head north and east, and then south and east of your location, even more so, south by southeast. There's always a choice, and as you get closer and closer to where that road should be, where that road is, just past the 3 houses there at the end of that particular group of land, there's a choice. There are lights heading in your general direction, north, from the north of where you presently are. There are lights ranging through the trees as clearly a vehicle is rushing down the road towards the dead end, towards the dead ends. There's always a choice. What is it that you too are attempting or thinking or preparing to do?
think they're gonna stay out of the road so that the car doesn't hit them, but get as close to it or head towards the light so that maybe they can get out of here, or maybe they can take the car from whoever it is and loop back to save their friends, but they want to get out of here, or she wants to get out of here. She doesn't know what Lita wants.
What does Lita want? There's an actual provable phenomenon happening out there just behind you, just from where you fled from. Do you, don't you, will you, want you? What is on Lita's mind as she's trundling along behind India as you all are nearly to the road? Okay. We're experiencing a small bit of technical difficulties, Discord being Discord. But Lita, as the deciding factor in this moment, the light's heading your general direction. What are you, when you said maybe, potentially, which of those options are you actually choosing?
Getting out of there.
You broke up a bit there, Lita. Discord is interrupting with your,
Oh, sorry, I'm getting out of there.
Okay, so the lights of the vehicle are, which is clearly a vehicle, are heading in your general direction. What are you attempting to do to get out of there? Is there anything that you're doing?
Just generally trying to get out of the direction it's coming from.
Okay. And India, are you allowing the vehicle to pass you by? What is it that you are attempting or thinking of doing?
I guess we're trying to flag them down if they're going. I mean, it depends on how fast they're going, but we're going to try at least to flag them down. Or she's looking for a rock. She might just throw a rock at their back window to get them to stop.
Understandable. So you're not looking in your pockets, are you?
No, she's looking on the ground. She don't trust nothing that's in her pockets right now.
After Joji pulls out a fucking interdimensional rock from his, yeah, no, it's probably a good idea.
There is no greater feeling than knowing that someone is coming for you, to knowing that you are not alone. There's no greater sense of you matter more than someone else putting themselves out of sorts, even if it's literally just them they live across the street from you, they live down the block from you, they live way across the city. The fact that someone is exerting the effort to come for you is a penultimately powerful feeling. Knowing that there's someone out there in the dark, knowing there's someone out there in the world that considers you worth effort, whether it's great, whether it's humongous, whether it is gargantuan, no matter the amount of effort, the fact that someone considers you worthy of the effort, there's no feeling like it. So as you begin to wave your hand and look for a rock to throw into the path of the vehicle to hit the car with, it's getting to a stop. And Angela Rivers and Renee Logan stepping out of the vehicle. Angela blatantly staring through you all, as in, where the fuck is everybody else? And Renee very pointedly, did you all have to fuck up that big? You know how many? Get in the fucking car. And the way that she pronounces car is always horribly inaccurate. Because it's as if there's an extra couple of K's and Q's mixed in. Get in the car! And it's stretched down the R, bends and twists. Seeing two members of the reigning powers that be in Bethany, what, if anything, goes through Lita, India's mind? What is it that they may, if anything, attempt to say? What is it, if anything, they are attempting to do?
India realizes that this is the worst possible, not the worst possible scenario, but she is glad to see them, but at the same time, like, oh shit, bosses are here. But as she's getting in the car, we didn't do this. Fucking demons or some shit did. The guy that's running this place, he's actually a demon, and he had us set some shit loose, trapping us in the fucking trailer. We didn't do this.
Magister Connors would beg to differ. He said that you all release some energy by choice. Get in.
Was he here when it fucking happened? She's getting in.
But he was monitoring y'all sending stone. And the moment you all get in, there's no pausing of action. There's no, we'll sit here by the side of the road and keep talking about this. Angela mashes the gas, shifting into gear and flipping a 180 instead of continuing down the dead-end road. When she reaches the brake, she turns and heads across the clearly, you hope, mapped out pasture and fields bouncing between trees as she's heading in a particular direction. It is clear that in the interruption of whatever Joji did when he used his stone, that it sent them into higher gear than average, because there's no reason for Magister Connors to have been monitoring the sending stone, yet he clearly already was. There's no reason for this level of response unless, of course, someone somewhere was taking the whole matter far too seriously. Should have been a simple rouse. You should have been able to engineer what looks like an accident and got people out there, yet there are powers that be that are up in arms. There's more than a little bit of things happening. And the ramifications of those happenings, unfortunately, because your numbers were up and you all were responsible, seems to be settling across your shoulders. And as India and Lita settle into the back seat of the Mercedes-Benz SUV barreling across the very wild, dark spaces, and Annabelle begins succumbing to all of that unacted on darkness at the edges of her being. And as Joji and Maddie race away from the center of the maelstrom of a platoon of unliving children. I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thank you all for playing. Okay.